Now time for our press review. Deepti Galon joins me now for a look at what's been making headlines around the world today. Hi, Deepti.
Hi, Judy.
You're going to start with our top story today, that election in Lebanon.
That's right. And the big takeaway from these elections is the turnout, at least according to the newspapers. This very low turnout, despite being the first general election in nearly a decade in Lebanon. The vote was peaceful. That's what the Daily Star, a Lebanese paper, says. But the turnout was weak. About 1 in 2 people voted, including Prime Minister Saad Hariri, of course, who you see here on the front page. Lebanon votes, a rather simple headline from the Saudi newspaper Arab News, because indeed these elections are getting a lot of traction in the regional papers. There's a lot of vested interest in the outcome. They're going for a thumbs-up photo from Hariri, who you'll remember resigned and then reneged on that resignation last year in dramatic fashion from the Saudi capital, Riyadh. Now, the Tehran Times also focusing on this, but their focus is on Hezbollah, the Iran-backed Shia party, which is poised for a win in these elections here. They're expected to take away more than half the seats in parliament.
Deepti, let's come back now to France, where President Emmanuel Macron is marking his first year in office. In fact, the first year since his election, May 7th.
That's right. Since his election, it's been a busy year for Macron between his memorable diplomatic visits overseas and weeks of unrest over his economic and social policies. L'Humanité, the Communist Party, is very critical. They call him sarcastically Emmanuel I, the king of destruction. He's really taking an axe to France's traditional social policy, social model. Libération, the left-leaning paper, is just as biting, saying the French right finally have their president. He says, because of course Emmanuel Macron is in reality a centrist, but they say, at least according to Libé, that he's carrying out reforms that the French conservatives have dreamed of doing for many years. French voters were initially excited about Macron's more hands-on, proactive stance, but now these same people are reproaching him a year later for his, quote, no-compromise style of negotiation and this image, once again, of him being a president for the rich.
Now to the United States, where the First Lady, Melania Trump, has called a press conference to present her formal First Lady campaign.
That's right. Every First Lady has a campaign, a social issue that she wants to tackle. Melania Trump's issue will be online cyberbullying for kids. And this is really the first time that she's stepping out of Donald Trump's shadow and Donald Trump's scandals, indeed. She's really kept a low profile for most of his presidency, but in recent times we've seen her stepping out a bit more into the public eye, notably at former First Lady Barbara Bush's funeral. Her first ever press conference today will outline her plan for tackling children's issues, including bullying. And in fact, the Washington Post explains that she's been studying the First Lady's role, preparing for this moment, with polls showing that the more she's in the public eye, the more popular she is, because people see her as being, quote, least like Trump out of all the Trumps.
All right, to Cambodia now, where the sale of a newspaper has got many people there worried about the free press.
That paper was the Phnom Penh Post. It was recently sold off to a Malaysian businessman with reported ties to the Cambodian president Hun Sen. Now, this businessman has vowed to protect the editorial independence of the paper. That's what the Phnom Penh Post is reporting on the front page of its website. But for The Guardian, at least, it was seen as the last independent outlet in Cambodia. And The Guardian's really alarmed at what it calls a staggering blow to free press. They say that in less than a year, the country has gone from having one of the freest press in the region to being one of the most dangerous for journalists. We're talking harassment, censorship, radio stations, 32 radio stations were shut down, and then a pro-opposition paper was shut down over a tax bill dispute. All of this appears to be linked to Hun Sen, at least that's what they think. He's been in power for nearly 33 years, and there's an election coming up in July with the opposition party gaining popularity.
Now, we are going to talk about an unusual exhibition here in Paris. It took place this weekend at the Palais de Tokyo. What's this?
It wasn't actually the exhibition that was unusual. It was the type of people who turned up to it. The French website Lobs explains that this weekend, for the first time in Paris, the museum opened its doors for a nudist viewing of an exhibition. 30,000 people signed up for the 161 nude spots offered on Facebook. Among those who participated frustrated journalists, an intern surgeon who went to this exhibit to relieve some stress before an exam, and a railway worker who, it appears, had taken a day off from striking for a bit of cultural stimulation.
I think that would stress me out more than not stress me out to walk around naked in a museum. All right, just to wrap up now, the most expensive real estate listing in New York can't find a buyer.
This is a penthouse, Ginny, that's going for nearly 70 million euros, boasting views of the Hudson River, 4,500 square meters of real estate. That's become the most expensive listing. The problem, though, is this property has been on the market for 5 years, and maybe it's a tad bit expensive. The British tabloid The Sun explains that the owner is now sweetening the deal with crazy perks. Among them, he's going to throw in, I say that lightly, throw in 2 Rolls Royces, a Lamborghini, a yacht, a year's worth of dinners at a 5-star restaurant, and 2 tickets aboard a Virgin Galactic space flight. Maybe he should just lower the price,
Indeed,
no?
It's strange. All right, Dipti, thank you for that. Dipti Kalaran with that look at the press. So you can get a closer look at that press review, of course, and all the news on France 24 on our website. That address is france24.com.